Customer queue management tricks. Introduction. When customers are required to wait for services, how to better manage customer queues to optimize customer queuing experience is often an important yet tricky problem for a business to tackle. Because chances are that there is a limited room business can do to speed up the waiting line. The true differentiator between good and bad customer queue management is often in how well a great customer waiting experience can be created under the same queuing speed capacity. In other words, while the actual waiting time may be hard to reduce, customer perception about the length of waiting time can be altered with good queue design and management. In this sense, it is fair to say that perception is often more important than reality. Any method that can reduce the boredom or frustration experienced by a waiting customer is open for adoption as a possible solution. Tricks on improving apparent waiting time. Many successful approaches have been developed in the past for reducing the waiting customer's boredom and frustration. They can be roughly divided into the following categories. 1. Distraction. By creating a distraction to customers' waiting activity, a typical customer tends to feel the waiting time shorter than it actually is. Good examples of this include elevator music, hall mirror for grooming, waiting lounge streaming video newscasting or advertisements, provision of interaction opportunity by a theme park between the waiting customers or with the waiting environments for curiosity or fun, as implemented in Disney by constructing the waiting line with the same care used for the attraction itself, adding games, interactive features, and performances, so as to give visitors plenty to do, etc. 2. Explanation. When a good insight on how the queue is doing or how long is the estimated waiting time is provided to customers in the form of updated queue status, or there is an excuse or explanation of any kind about why the queue is not performing as expected, most customers will immediately feel justified, mentally prepared, and less anxious about whether their waiting is indeed worthwhile. Good examples in this category include using a queue management system or service to provide customers updated queue status and handle urgent or unexpected situations requiring line cutting in a transparent, pre-planned, and consistent manner. An interesting fact observed in research is that even if an excuse or explanation is pretty lousy or bordering ridiculous, the mere presence of such an excuse or explanation still works as often as 94% of the time. 3. Sense of fairness. The fairness expectation is deeply rooted in people of all civilized cultures. If line cutting has to happen in violation of commonly expected first come first served principle, it had better be fair in some other sense, although people are often not interested in its actual working details. This fact makes the mere use of a queue management service automatic satisfaction of this condition. Because no matter what algorithm is running in such a system, as long as the system is performing not terribly outrageously, people tend to believe the queue is fairly, consistently, and impartially maintained. 4. Sense of efficiency. Good examples of the apparent best speed under the circumstances including the intentional elongated distance between airport passenger gates and carousel for luggage claiming to let required time spent by passengers walking between the two places effectively reduce the apparent waiting time since airplane arrival at luggage carousel area, and the separation of food order and pickup windows in a drive-by lane of a fast food restaurant so that both food order and downstream pickup by different customers can be done at the same time. But in fact, there is no change of waiting time required for a customer to wait before picking up the food after placing the order, except a small amount of time is spent in driving from one window to another instead of waiting at the same service window. Another good way to create a sense of efficiency is to provide a slightly overestimated waiting time to customers so that the customers can feel the sense of efficiency when they find out the actual time spent is less than estimated, as is implemented in Disney by inflating the waiting times posted at each attraction. 5. Sense of hope. When the line is really very long, to prevent the customers wearing out of patience waiting, the entire waiting line is often deliberately visually divided into several visible chunks to keep the hope of reaching the end of the line alive. This is in fact implemented at Disney by disguising the line around corners or walls to make it appear shorter. In addition, the approach of the constant reminders of how great the reward will be at the end of waiting also strengthens the motive to continue waiting to keep the reward imagination and the hope of delayed gratification alive. A sheer promised money-back guarantee may sometimes just do the work. Tricks on improving actual waiting time. On actually improving waiting time, one time-tested best practice is to have a single serpentine line in front of several service points instead of multiple lines with one at each service point. Such a single serpentine waiting line arrangement is quite popular in airports and most large stores. With multiple parallel line arrangements in which each line is in front of a service point, such an arrangement can be great for customers in a fast line but can be very unfair to customers who are stuck in a slow line. They also cause customers to switch from one line to another in search of the fastest, abandon the queue out of desperation, cut a line inappropriately, or not join the line at all. In a single serpentine line arrangement, however, all customers are funneled into a single line and then dispatched to the first available service point. As such, it follows the first-come first-served rule most closely and also reduces the probability of any innocent customer in getting stuck at any particular service point. It is conceivable that, at some point, the effort required in managing a long single serpentine line with many service points may outgrow an average person's capacity. This is one of the times when adopting a queue management service is highly recommended. Conclusion. Customer queuing experience in many cases can be an important part of total customer experience, influencing customer retention and loyalty to a business. Therefore, many successful businesses have developed several ways to effectively enhance such experience, either through actually reducing the waiting time or by reducing perceived waiting time. Due to physical limitations, apparently the development in reducing perceived waiting time has been much more fruitful than the other area in the past and is expected to remain so in the future too. The categories for improving the perceived waiting time described above may not be exhaustive. For the development of future tricks in this area, it is up to anyone's imagination, and the sky is the only limit. It is also important to know that adoption of any queue management service or system can substantially improve many aspects of customer queue management discussed above, but can hardly be a complete replacement of total customer queuing experience design for a business. Every business has its special needs and customization requirements regarding customer queuing experience. A dedicated effort is still most likely needed to best integrate a queuing service with other components to provide the best customer queuing experience possible under a preset budget.